Okay, so we have covered 3 types of factoring, right? I'm going to go down here and talk about these factoring strategies, and then we'll go open practice. So first thing that we have here is the common factor method. And common factor, or what you'll hear me say, GCF, greatest common factor, and this can be any number of terms, all right? And the reason why we keep reviewing this on all of your notes is because part of factoring is looking for patterns. All right, the next one is difference of squares. Difference of squares only happens with 2 terms, only. And then the other one we have is sum or difference of cubes. And sum of difference of cubes is also only 2 terms, always. So remember, difference of squares, and with cubes, we can do sum or difference. So squares and cubes, okay? So go ahead and pause the video and do these quick review questions on the top, and then come back and we'll check answers before we move on. Okay. Go ahead and check your work, and I'll talk through these. I see this is a pattern, so x squared, 100, both perfect squares, and subtraction, right? So not perfect squares, so I have to use a GCF. Okay, not perfect squares, so I have to use a GCF. So perfect square, subtraction, I can use my pattern. Same thing with this one, perfect square, subtraction, I can use my pattern. Now, this is a perfect square, and this is a perfect square, but this is not subtraction. So I can't pull out a GCF, and I can't do square root of both of these because it's addition. So I'm done. This is done. This is not factorable. When it's not factorable, we call it prime. This is something that I can't take a GCF out of. I can't factor it, so I'm all done. So we would say this is prime. Okay, let's go down here and look at a little bit of foiling, because what we're going to do now is we're going to get into things that have multiple terms, so 3 terms. So if I FOIL this, just kind of a review, I take the first term times the first term, and when we have this FOIL, you're going to see this. So I have this first term, so I would have 6x squared. I go to this next one, 8x. Now I go to the inside, 9x, and then I go to the last term right here, which is 12. And at this point, I'm going to combine like terms. So I have 6x squared, 17x plus 12. And I know that you guys are all really good at foiling. I would just tell you, be super cautious, especially when you have negatives in there. Okay? All right, so here we go. We are now going to do things where we have 3 terms. And when I have 3 terms, I am going to use this trial and error method. Sometimes you're going to hear me say guess and check. Now, it's not really a guess because I'm going to have some strategies right here, and that's what we're going to go through. We're going to go through these strategies, and then we're going to practice them. So, step 1, when you see 3 terms, the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to set yourself up by creating 2 sets of parentheses. Okay? So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to know the sign in these parentheses. So I'm going to have one that's positive and one that's negative, or maybe both are negative, or maybe both are positive. But whatever the case is, I'm going to decide on the signs in the parentheses based on the last sign in the polynomial. So, for example, let me flip this back over. This is the last value in my polynomial. So polynomial just means more than one term, right? So I have 3 terms. This is the last term. So this is positive. So because I have this plus 12, I'm going to have 2 options. For me to get a positive number, I have to have the signs inside my parentheses as positive, positive, or negative, negative, right? So negative and negative is going to give me a plus 12, or positive, positive is going to give me a plus 12. Now, let's just say, for example, that this was a negative 12 instead of a positive 12. Well, if it's a negative 12, my signs inside my parentheses are either going to be positive, negative, because when I multiply a positive and a negative together, it's going to give me negative 12, or it's going to be negative, positive, right? So negative times a positive is going to give me a negative 12. So what this says is decide the signs in the parentheses based on the last sign of the polynomial. So if it's the same, we're going to have same sign, which could be positive, positive, or negative, negative, if it's an addition sign at the end. If it's a subtraction sign, then I'm going to have different signs within my parentheses, so positive, negative, or negative, positive. Okay? All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to place the first term in each parenthesis. Now what that means is this is going to be my first term. So this is going to be, and it says here, hint, we're going to try our closest factors. And then we're going to place the second term in each parenthesis. So that's going to be over here. Hold on, I'm going to use a different color. So this is going to be my second term in the parentheses based on, again, based on our closest factors. All right? And then what we're going to do is we're going to check the O and the I in FOIL to make sure that it's either going to add or subtract, so we know which sign goes where. So which of our signs goes in the last term. Okay, so lots of words, but let's practice this. So I have a 6 here, and I have a 12 here. I have 3 terms. So the first thing I'm going to do is put my parentheses down. Now, I know that this is a positive 12, so my signs are either going to be plus plus or minus minus. Okay? The next thing I want to do is I want to find my factors that are closest together. So if I look at 6, my options are 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. My factors of 12 are 1 and 12, 2 and 6, and 3 and 4. Now, you don't have to write all these down. I'm doing this time to show you because it might help you. Now, what I want to do is I want to look at what combinations do I have in here that's going to get me to 17. Now, I know because I have plus, plus, or minus, minus, I have to add. So you always, up here, you always want to try your closest factors first. So my closest factors are going to be these two and these two. So if I look at this, I can see 2 times 3 is 6, and this is 12. If I'm going to add them up, 6 and 12 is going to be bigger than 17. So let me try this. I would have 3 and 3 is 9. 4 and 2 is 8, and 9 and 8 is 17. So that's going to work. So I'm going to put my first factor first. So this is going to be a 2x, and this is going to be a 3x. I have to include the x in my term. So 2x and 3x. Order doesn't matter. Now what I have to do is I have to place my second term. So I have to look and say, okay, I know I want 3 times 3 because I wanted the 9. And 4 times 2 because I wanted the 8. So now that's this step 5, check. So this gives me 9x, and this gives me 8x, and 9x plus 8x gives me 17. Now, because this is a positive 17, I know that this is going to be plus, and this is going to be plus. And I'm done. This is my factored form. Now, I can always go and check the whole thing. So, and I can always check it by FOILing. So if I look at this, I would have 6x squared. And then we just check the middle 2 terms. I know that's 17x. And then the last one is positive 3 times positive 4 is positive 12. And that's what I had up here. Okay, so you can always go back and check these. All right, let's try this again. So factors here are just going to be 1 and 5. Factors here could be 1 and 10, but remember we want to try our closest factors first. So I'm going to try 2 and 5. So parentheses, I'm looking for 23, and I see that this is a subtraction on my last term. So if it's a subtraction on my last term, 1 is positive and 1 is negative. Well, if I have 1 that's positive and 1 is negative, when I look at my middle terms, I'm going to end up subtracting. So I want to find a combination where when I subtract these, it's going to give me 23. Well, this pops out right away. 5 times 5 is 25, and 25 minus 2 is 23. So this is going to work. So my first term is x, my second one is 5x. Now I needed the 5 for 25 and the 2 here. So this gives me 10, which is what I have. Since the 23 is positive, the 5 has to be positive. So this gives me 5 times 5, which is 25x. And if this is negative, minus 2x. When I add these up, I get positive 23x. So this checks. All right. So I have lots of factors on 18. I have 1 and 18, I have 2 and 9, and I have 3 and 6. And then over here, I only have 1 and 3. So start with my parentheses. I know that this is subtraction, so I'm going to have 1 positive and 1 negative. So I'm looking for a pattern. So 25 is a big number, so if I look at 3 times 6, I have 18. So 18 plus 3, I can't do plus 3 because I have one that's positive, one that's negative. So 18 minus 3 is not going to give me 25. So this, even though these are the closest, this one's not going to work. So I'm going to go over here. Ooh, I see it. So 9 times 3 is 27. 27 minus 2 is 25. So this is going to be my closest factor. So I'm going to have 2x and 9x. So now I'm going to put the second term in. I needed the 27, so the 3 goes with the 9, and the 1's going to go out here. Okay, so I need a negative 25 now. So I need my 27 to be my negative term, and this is my positive term. So now I'm going to check this. I have negative 27 plus 2 gives me a negative 25, which is what I have here, negative 25. So this is my answer. All right, I'm going to do a couple more because I know these are tricky. So I have 1 times 5, and then my factors on 21 are going to be 1 and 21, and 3 and 7. Those are my only factors for 21. So put my parentheses down. Now I want 16. So if I look at this, this would, and I know that this is a negative, so I have one that's positive, one that's negative, so I'm going to be subtracting. So this would give me 35 minus 3. That's not 16. And this is going to give me 15 minus 7. That's not 16. So this factor is not going to work. So I have to go up here. So if I do 5 times 21, that's going to be way too big. So if I do 21 times 1, I would have 21 minus 5 gives me 16. So I'm going to use this big factor up here. So I'm going to have x and 5x. I wanted 16, so the 1 is going to go with the 21, and this is going to go with the 5. 21 and 1. Now, I wanted a positive 16, so my 21 has to be the bigger number, minus 5. So let's check this. So I'm going to have negative 5 on the inside, plus 21 gives me a positive 16, which is what I wanted. Let me go ahead and do these last two because I think we've got some practice on the next page. So factors here, 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6. Over here I have quite a few, 1 and 12, 2 and 6, and 3 and 4. So I have lots of options. I know that I'm going to have 2 different signs, so I'm going to subtract. Okay, so when I have this now, I have a lot of different combinations, and I know I'm going to subtract. So I'm going to start with my middle terms. And so if I start with my middle terms, I have 6 times 4, which is 24. So 24 minus 9. So 24 minus 9 is not 19. So let me try this one. I'm going to have 18 minus 12. So that one doesn't work either. Okay, so let's keep this one and go up here. So this would give me 36 minus 6, so way too big. So this one would give me 12 and 18. So that one doesn't work either. So let's go back up here. So now I'm going to have 27 minus 8, right? So if I have 9 times 3 is 27, and 2 times 4 is 8, and 27 minus 8 is 19. So this one didn't work, but this one does. So what I like about doing this factor method right here is that I can do some mental math to try to figure out my combination without putting it in here and subtracting, or erasing. So I end up with 2x and 9x, and I want this to be 27, so 3 times 9 is 27, and 2 times 4 is 8. All right, this is a negative number, so my bigger number, the number that I'm subtracting, needs to be the negative, then plus. So let's check this. I have negative 27, so inside, and then I go to the outside, and I have 8, and this becomes negative 19, which is what I wanted. So this was a good one because you've got lots of combinations that you have to try. All right, last one. 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6, 1 and 8, 2 and 4. Okay, so first thing that you should see is that this is addition, so this means I'm going to add. But we're going to go one step further because this is a negative number right here. I know that both of my terms have to be negative. I'm going to have negative, negative. So even though I'm adding, I know right away that these are both going to be negative terms because this is a negative term. So if I look at these combinations here, I'm going to have 24 plus 6. So that's way too big. And then I could also have 12 plus 12, which is 24. So that doesn't work. So let's go up here and look at this one. So this would give me 36 and 4, which is way too big. Or I would have 18 plus 8. 18 plus 8. So that doesn't work. All right. So let me go up here and look at this one. This is going to be 36 and 4, which is way too big. And then the other one is even bigger, so that doesn't work. So let's go back up here to this one. So if I have 24 and 6, so what I'm doing is I'm just multiplying 24 and 6. So that's too big, and then right away I see that that's 48, so that doesn't work. So let's go up here. So I have 2 times 8, which is 16, and then I have 1 times 9, which is 9, and 16 plus 9. Okay, so that's going to be the one that works. So this didn't work and this didn't work. So I'm going to have 2x and 9x. So 2x and 9x. And then I know I want the 1 to go with the 9 and the 8 to go with the 2. So now let's check it. My inside term is negative 9x and my outside term is negative 16x. And when I add this up, I have negative 25x. So this is my final answer. Okay, I think the next page is just practice. Yeah, it is. It's just practice. So I want you to go ahead and pause the video. I'm going to go ahead and work these two, and then I'll pull it back on, and you can go and check your answers.